Welcome back. Now, this new CNN SSRS poll finds that former President Trump has a slim lead over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in a potential race for the White House. 40% of Republicans and Republican-leaning independents saying that they would support Trump for the 2024 GOP nomination. 36% say they would support Ron DeSantis. The same poll finds 32% of voters say that the economy is the most important issue when deciding a candidate to support. Tiana, your reaction?
I think that it's actually genuinely impressive that DeSantis has coalesced this much support without even jumping into the race. Will this just be a 2016 redux? We'll see. One of the issues that, I think a lot of the media, and especially CNN, who did the poll, would like to attribute this to January 6th, things like that. But it's pretty clear that, no, it's more that DeSantis actually has a roster of experience that worked in Florida. Making the tagline, "Make America Florida," works. And crucially, when we talk about this inflation issue, when we talk about these risky investing strategies, Donald Trump did play a very small part in that, right? He did continue the Washington gravy train. He did expand the deficit, and he did try and bully the Fed into cutting interest rates long before COVID. Now, DeSantis is still a little bit of a cipher. I think that this week is really the first time we're really learning about what his contemporary Ukraine thoughts are. So we have no idea what his monetary policy will be. There's still a long way this could go. But people have tried Trump, and I think that they're very clearly open to DeSantis coming in.
Yeah, I had him on Sunday Morning Futures on Sunday, and he would not show his hand, James Freeman, but he's got a great record in terms of talking about what he's done in Florida, the leadership that he's shown, and that's why he has so much support.
Yeah, a lot of leadership during COVID, not giving in to panic, embracing pretty early on the correct idea that you got to keep society open while focusing on protecting the vulnerable. He's done some very good things as far as school choice. So I think we've been talking about how DeSantis has to be careful to laud the achievements of the Trump administration while criticizing Trump, because there are a lot of Republican voters, obviously, who like the policy wins of the Trump era. I think Trump has the same issue. He has to be careful. I don't think the playbook from 2016 with the nicknames and the shots at DeSantis is going to work, because I think even Trump voters appreciate what DeSantis has done in Florida.
Yeah, for sure. And I thought it was interesting yesterday that DeSantis showed his hand on Ukraine. And he went where Trump is on this issue, that, you know what, let's put some limitations into the money that we're sending to Ukraine. And, Adam, let me just say the same poll finds that 59% of Republicans find it more important the party nominates a candidate who shares their position on major issues, rather than nominate a candidate with a strong sense of, chance of beating President Biden.
Which is interesting. And by the way, if that number one issue, and I believe this poll suggests that it is the number one issue, the economy, then just look at Ron DeSantis' track record in Florida. If it's the economy that you're voting on, then he's the winner, because the Florida economy through COVID was absolutely stellar.
Yeah, it really was. And